For your listening pleasure, let me introduce Eddie Glenn. Eddie is a visiting professor who's performing some folk music for us during this break. And he focuses on acoustic music and cultural, what is it?
Political ethics as
political
represented.
ethics. Political ethics, musicology. So let me turn it over to Eddie Glenn.
Thank you very much. What I want to do today is play some songs that are about politics. And I define politics very broadly. It is the movement of power between groups of people. So whenever we have people and whenever we have power, power plus people equals politics. Now, songs are really interesting in that regard, in that they reflect certain ethical perspectives, ethical registers that people can take. And today I'm going to be talking about particular ethical registers within a democratic society. My argument is that satire, actually, as presented musically concerning politics, can actually be a very ethical and very effective means of political discourse. So I want to start by playing a couple of songs that we would probably consider to be protest songs. Now, you probably all realize that the high point of protest music was the 60s and the 1970s for various reasons, not the least of which was the Vietnam War. And these songs that, I'm going to play a couple of them, and then I want to talk just a little bit about them and describe them in terms of ethical perspectives. Some folks are born made to wave the flag, Lord, the red, white, and blue now. When the band plays Hail to the Chief, point the cannon back at you. But it ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no politician's son, no, no, no. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate one. Some folks are born silver spoon in hand, Lord, don't they help themselves now. When the tax man comes to the door, you know the house looks like a rummage sale. But it ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no millionaire's son, no. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate one. Some folks are born star-spangled eyes, Lord, they'll send you off to war. When you ask them how much should I give, oh, they only answer more, 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 more. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no general's son, no, no, no. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate one, no. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate son, no, no, no. It ain't me, it ain't me, I ain't no fortunate one. Now, we tend to think of protest music as being much like that song and being more against the status quo, being what we would consider on our typical American political dichotomy as being left, very much to the left of the political spectrum. That's not always the case. And again, the 60s and the 70s present us with some great examples of, I suppose, what could be considered counter-protest. So these are still songs that are talking about people and power, but they are more in support of the government. And of course, my personal favorite along those lines would have to be none other than Merle Haggard, who sang this particular tune. I hear people talking bad about the way they have to live here in this country, harping on the wars we fight, griping about the way things ought to be. I don't mind switching sides, standing up for things they believe in. When they're running down my country house, they're walking on the fighting side of me. They're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down the way of life our fighting men have fought and died to keep. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down my country house, you're walking on the fighting side of me. I read about some squirrely guy who says he just don't believe in fighting. And I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free. They love our milk and honey, but they preach about some other way of living. When they're running down my country, man, they're walking on the fighting side of me. They're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down the way of life our fighting men have fought and died to keep. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down my country now, you're walking on the fighting side of me. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down my country, man, you're walking on the fighting side of me. Now, the thing about both of those songs, and in fact, most of what we consider protest music, can be described, I think, quite well by the 20th century rhetorical theorist Kenneth Burke. And Kenneth Burke made the claim that literature is equipment for living. But he defined literature quite broad, and so we can consider musical works, any sort of artistic work, any sort of artistic symbolic expression as being literature to some degree. And Burke liked to divide different types of symbolic expression into the genres of literary criticism. And both of these songs that I've just sung fall into what he would consider the tragic frame. And within the tragic frame, the others, people who have political views that differ from our own, are considered evil, either criminal or just plain evil. And Burke says that it's actually better to consider people within your own society, especially within what he calls the comic frame. And in the comic frame, people are not considered evil, they're considered mistaken. So the way he words it is the tragic frame deals with crime, and the comedic frame deals with mistakes, with foolishness. In the mid-90s, I lived in a town called Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and it was the nearest civilization to a community known as LON City. And you may have heard of LOM City maybe years ago. It was one of the last places that Timothy McVeigh visited before he bombed the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City in 1995. And so there were quite a few folks who shared those political perspectives in the area where I lived at the time. And it inspired this next original tune, which I call Whiskey Gun. I got my whiskey, I got my gun, I got the day off from work at the factory, I got a sawed-off barrel of fun, I got some theories you need to hear. So sit right back, relax, and pop the top on another beer. I think I can trust you, yeah, you're one of us, at least you look that way. Well, you might have some Indian blood, but that's okay, I'll let it slide. 'Cause they don't care much for the FBI either, and they'll probably fight on our side. And if they don't, just wipe them all out. You know it's kill or be killed, son. Hey, that's what this country's about. I got my whiskey, I got my gun, I got the day off from work at the factory, I got a sawed-off barrel of fun, I got some theories you need to hear. So sit right back, relax, pop the top on another beer. You see that car parked across the street? No, don't look now, you gotta be just a little more discreet. But behind the wheel, there sits the guy who follows me to all the gun shows, keeps a list of the weapons I buy, 'cause they've been watching us real Americans since 1963, when the Russians and Cubans and Texans bumped off John F. Kennedy. And they told you in school he was liberal. Hey, you can't believe nothing they say. Yeah, he might have been a little bit Catholic, but hell, he started the Green Berets. They work for the government. No, that's just a disguise. I read all about it in Soldier of Fortune. They're really a good bunch of guys. I got my whiskey, I got my gun, I got the day off from work at the factory, I got a sawed-off barrel of fun, I got some theories you need to hear. Just sit right back, relax, pop the top on another beer. You know the Jews own television just to give the blacks a job, and the Italians are in on the action, so they're all in tight with the mob. And the Vatican knows all about it, they got their hand in the cookie jar too. And my neighbor next door is a Mason, they got their eye on me and you. But I got my whiskey, I got my gun, I got the day off from work at the factory, I got a sawed-off barrel of fun, I got some theories every good American needs to hear. So sit right back, relax, pop the top on another beer. I got my whiskey, I got my gun. Don't stand too close to that window there, son. I got my whiskey, I got my gun. Obviously, satirizing that particular, I don't even want to call it right-wing perspective. It's really more anarchist, which was very common at the time where I was living, and still quite common throughout the United States.